Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. We're thrilled to have you here for the fourth parenting webinar. With more than 30 years in business, Cadence Education has established itself as one of the premier early childhood educators in the United States. We proudly serve over 30,000 families nationwide, operating over 300 private preschools and elementary schools. At Cadence Education, we deeply value the partnership between the school and home and are committed to providing meaningful communication to support your child's development. We're excited to offer parent webinars to help you navigate common parenting challenges while supporting your child's growth and development. Thank you for spending time with us today as we discuss a critical topic that support our daily family dynamics, the power of routines and executive function. Over the next half hour, we'll explore why routines are essential for young children and how we can establish successful routines that support your family's flow and dynamics. We're also excited to address questions from several families who submitted them ahead of time. These will be covered during the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Additionally, we'll do our best to answer questions submitted during the session through the Q&A in Zoom. Our Q&A is being actively monitored by a member of the Cadence Education team, so feel free to share your questions as we go along. Lastly, we want to let you know that all the resources we discussed today, along with the recording of the webinar, will be shared with you in a follow-up email. So there's no need to worry about detailed notes. We've got you covered. Before we dive into today's content, let's take a moment to introduce ourselves. I'm Paula Hermano, Director of Programs for our Montessori schools with 19 years of experience spanning infant toddler programs, early childhood education, teacher education. I'm so excited to facilitate this session today, and partnering with me is Dr. Ashley.
Thanks, Paula. Hi, I'm Dr. Ashley Morris. I'm the Executive Director of Montessori Schools, and I bring 22 years of experience in early childhood and teacher leadership.
Thank you, Ashley. We are honored to be part of the Cadence Education Organization. Our goal is to support your children's teachers, school directors, and families as we work together to create enriching educational experiences. Let's talk about some of our goals today. We want to have a clear understanding of what routines are and why they matter so much for young children. We also want to have an insight into what executive function is and how routines help your child build focus, flexibility, and self-control. We will also explore the key ingredients of successful routine and discover strategies for creating routines that support your family. Last but not the least, find practical and fun ways to build routines. Before we dive in, I'd like to pass it on to Dr. Ashley for the first poll.
Thanks, Paula. We'd love to hear from our audience today. Which type of routine do you feel like you have the most positive impact for your child? Is it meals and eating, bathing, dressing, cleaning, sleeping, or maybe you just can't decide and you need all of them? If you want to participate in the poll, hopefully it's popped up on your screen. All right, we have a couple of votes for needing all of them, and
Yeah.
sleeping and cleaning. Okay, a couple more coming in.
Yeah.
Meals, eating, bathing. Seems like at the moment we're tied for cleaning and sleeping. Yes, young children love to clean, so as much as you can incorporate that. Thank you for participating.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about why do children thrive on routines. We're going to spend a few minutes looking at child development and how routines support it. Growing up is hard to do. Children have so many skills to learn in a short amount of time, cognitively, language, socially, emotionally. As we mentioned in last month's webinar, as children move into the toddler phase, they're balancing moving from their secure attachment of their caregivers to exploration and independence. Routines help provide a strong base in the day, similar to the secure attachment they find from a caregiver. They help provide anchors, familiarity, and a feeling of safety in the environment. Children in birth to 6 also are going through sensitive periods in their development, and they have a need and a sensitive period for order. The sequencing in the environment and interaction is important for the nervous systems. Alternatively, this is why transitions can be so difficult in an airport or a store or new environment because there are just so many new things to take in. Last month, we also discussed the front part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex, responsible for higher level thinking and executive functioning. This part of the brain is developing all the way to age 24. When we have consistency in the order we do things in the day, it more quickly allows the child to engage in this area of higher level thinking. If they are uninvolved in the daily activities or constantly acclimating to new routines or environments, this keeps their brains in the emotional center of the brain called the amygdala. I want to spend a few minutes talking about the importance of the prefrontal cortex, where higher level thinking occurs. Executive functioning is an umbrella term for higher level thinking, and the research includes a range of definitions for which components encompass higher level thinking, such as planning, inhibition, cognitive flexibility, working memory, attention, problem solving, reasoning, initiation, and monitoring. These are the 5 that are most commonly referred to and the 5 that we're going to focus on today: working memory, inhibition, cognitive flexibility, planning, and attention. So let's use an example of your toddler getting dressed in the morning. Working memory is similar to attention, but it's keeping the specific information in the forefront of your mind when you do a task. For example, I'm putting on my pants. What order do I need to do things? Oh, I need to have my pants with me, so I need to find them. I need to have the correct orientation. I need to know that my foot goes in first. And your child isn't consciously thinking these things. This is more for an example. Inhibition is the practice of withholding energy verbally or physically to go where you want to focus. For example, to put on pants, all of your energy and movement need to go into those motions, not walking around or talking to your brother or looking for a book. Cognitive flexibility is a step that happens before problem solving, and it's being able to see other options. So I need to put on my pants on before I go eat breakfast. Planning is the ability to see sequential steps. You have to have your pants in your hand before you can put them on. You have to make sure your foot is going in the appropriate spot, like where the waist is, for example, not the bottom of where your ankle hole is. And then attention or attending is being able to stay on task the entire time. If a child gets distracted by a book or stuffed animal, now the attention has gone to something else rather than the task at hand. There are different skills being processed and practiced here too. So when a child practices working memory, planning, and attention, this is developing metacognition. And putting on pants requires a lot of physical skills all at once. When a child is practicing inhibition and cognitive flexibility, this is developing social emotional skills. Putting on pants can be extremely frustrating for a toddler. I also want to mention, as the prefrontal cortex is developing all the way to age 24, there's a graph provided by the Center for the Developing Child at Harvard University showing there's a significant spike of growth in ages 3 to 5. If executive functioning is developing so intensely, birth to 5, especially age 3 to 5, then what better time to support this development and growth even more? Strong routines and birth to 6 allow the child to be engaged in their environments and actively developing their executive function skills. But let's look at routines and fostering independence. How does it relate to executive functioning? I want to spend a few more minutes now on the central and peripheral nervous system and neurons. Did you know that babies are born with over 100 billion neurons, billion with a B, and over the first year of life, their experiences shape their neural connections, and the body prunes what it doesn't need or use. Why is this important? Your brain is made up of neurons called the central nervous system, and your body is made up of neurons called the peripheral nervous system, and they communicate with each other. And over the first few years of life, these connections are developing, pruning, and strengthening based on the child's experiences. Routines allow repetition and consistency in the child's environment. When you have the same order of things in the morning, like a diaper change, then clothes change, and then breakfast, this allows the body to provide faster neural networks to the things that you do all the time. Providing children with consistency and repetition of activities allow these pathways, communication, and ability to become faster and faster. One fun thing I like to point out when I teach child development is the neuron itself. And if you look at the picture on the right, this is an illustration of a neuron, and the message or communication gets passed down kind of like the game of telephone from one nerve to the next. The pink cylinders on the axon are called the myelin sheath, which is a fatty substance. And as you practice something over and over again, these fatty substance grows and becomes thicker and allows that message to pass through more quickly and more efficiently. I want you to think about when you first learned to drive a car. I know I remember having to have my seat at a 90-degree angle, sitting straight up, no music, no one talking to me. All of my attention was going to paying attention to the mechanics of driving, how fast I was going, my speed, the brakes, the road signs. And now we can drive all the way to work, eating, talking, listening to music, and you may not even actively remember the driving part. This is a great example of your body getting used to something with practice. So over time and experience and support in the environment, things will get easier and easier as the brain and neural systems get stronger and stronger. And we want to provide this to our child as well. We don't want our brains to work overtime all the time. Routines provide consistent tools, reminders, and experiences to make neural connections stronger and more higher level thinking. So how do routines and independence tie into this? Routines allow children to have clear expectations and security in what happens day to day. Consistency and repetition also allow them to move from secure attachment to exploration, engagement, and involvement. Children from toddlers to preschoolers can have very strong feelings, strong will, strong interests, and routines give a good guardrail or boundary about how they can be involved in their day to day. Let's go back to our pants example. When getting dressed is part of a morning routine, it becomes predictable, expected, and there's lots of opportunities for practicing the skill. The child is able to practice executive functioning skills metacognitively, socially, emotionally, and hopefully over time, these skills get easier and easier, leaving more executive functioning for more complicated skills like maybe buttoning a shirt or tying your shoes one day. And now that we've covered the developmental basis, let's go over to Paula for some practical and key elements of successful routines in your home.
Thanks, Ashley. Now that we have seen how strong routines support executive functioning and how that lays the foundation for lifelong skills, let's take a closer look at the key elements that make routines truly successful for young children and families. One of the most essential elements is consistency and predictability. When children know what's coming next, it gives them a sense of security. It lowers anxiety, builds trust, and helps them feel in control of their day. This clarity around what happens next supports smoother transitions. It reduces power struggles, eases transitions, and allows them to focus more on what they're doing in the moment because they're not wondering what's coming next. Researchers from organizations like Zero to Three and the Child Mind Institute state that predictable routines promote emotional regulation, focus, and even better sleep. For example, a consistent bedtime routine pattern like bath, pajamas, story time, and then tucking in your child to sleep sends strong signals to a child's brain that it's time to rest, time to sleep. When that rhythm is predictable, the body and mind respond accordingly. Now, structure is key, but routines cannot be strict or rigid. The needs of the children do shift, and when we allow for flexibility, we support emotional growth and resilience. We recommend developing the habit of observing the child and responding to what they need in the moment. Let's take a quick example. It's bedtime, but your child is midway through building block towers. A rigid response might be, it's bedtime now, put the blocks away, no whining. But instead, you could say, I see you're sad since you're working hard on that. Let's take a picture so you can continue tomorrow. You can have 5 more minutes, then we'll start bedtime together. This response shows empathy, because you're tuning in to how the child feels. Flexibility with boundaries. You provided an extension, that 5-minute extension, and bedtime still happens. Collaboration as you problem solve with your child. When routines are rooted in connection, children are far more likely to cooperate and feel safe doing so. A prepared environment supports independence and smoother routines without you needing to prompt every step. We can ensure everything has a place and is accessible. This invites children to participate in getting dressed, choosing books, or cleaning up because the space is designed to support their independence. It might mean placing toys on a low shelf or hanging two sets of clothing option on the child's eye level, so your child can get dressed while you're making breakfast. These small changes reduce friction and make routines more fluid and empowering, not just for your child, but for you too. Dr. Maria Montessori actually coined the term prepared environment. She believed that the way we set up and design a child's surroundings plays a powerful role in how they understand and navigate the world around them. And finally, relationship and engagement. This is what gives routine meaning. Every part of the day, getting dressed, brushing teeth, bedtime can be a moment of connection. These simple routines become rituals when we slow down and tune in. Routines are not about strict scheduling. It's about the connection we make and modeling we do in the process. Reading together before bed, washing dishes together after meals, modeling how to put socks on. These routines become an anchor points for emotional bonding. And the stronger the bond, the more children want to participate in the flow of daily life. When routines are consistent, flexible, well prepared, and relational, they become more than just a schedule. They become a rhythm that supports the whole child. But even the most well thought out routines can have their tricky moments. So let's take a quick pulse. What part of your child's routine is hardest? In the morning, during mealtime, your transitions, or during bedtime? And we got a fast answers and the transition part and mealtime. Now we have more on bedtime too. All right. Thank you for sharing. It's so helpful to see where those common pain points show up. The good news is routines don't have to be rigid to be effective. Let's explore how you can create a daily rhythm that fits your unique family flow while honoring your child's natural needs. When creating a daily rhythm that works for your family, a great starting point is simply identifying the natural transition points in your day. These are moments where one activity shifts into another, like waking up, getting dressed, meal times, going to school, etc. Why do transitions matter? Because those are often the points where friction or stress builds up. So planning around them can make the whole day smoother. Even just naming those transition moments, it will help you see where your child might need support. Once you've identified transitions, it's helpful to think about your child's energy patterns across the day. For children from birth to 6, mornings often bring fresh minds and energized bodies. This is an ideal time for getting ready routines and even some moments of connections, like shared breakfast and doing a quick dance or one round of exercise together. But by the time they get home in the afternoon, they've used up a lot of emotional and cognitive fuel. Dr. Ross Green reminds us that kids do well if they can. And that means recognizing when their nervous system is tired and needs to reset. We can be more observant into the children's routine and tune in into the children's rhythms. A calm transition to home, whether it's snack, a cuddle, quiet time, story time, can be a gentle way to regulate their system and set up a more peaceful evening. One of the most powerful things you can do is involve your child building the routine. When children feel a sense of ownership, they're more invested and cooperative. You can ask for input, for example, after school. You can ask, would you rather go to the playground or play trains at home? They're still following the rhythm you've set, but they have some say in how it unfolds. You can also let them decide when to do certain tasks. For example, if cleanup is part of the routine, you might ask, do you want to clean up after dinner or right after? I mean, before dinner or right after dinner? The key is the task doesn't go away, but they get to have some control over the how and when. Giving children these choices offer them a sense of freedom within limits. You're still setting the boundaries and guiding the overall routine, but within that framework, they're invited to make decisions. This respectful approach nurtures cooperation, builds confidence, and helps children gradually develop the executive function skills they need for independence. Even with something like a visual chart, you can offer a choice. For example, which sticker should we use today? Your unicorn, your rocket ship, or your star? That small decision makes the process feel shared and even fun. And after the routine, keep the connection going. Take a moment and ask questions like what part of bedtime felt easy tonight? When or which part do you need more help with? And when you notice their effort, let your child know, and you can say something like, you followed the whole chart on your own tonight. I hope you feel great about that. These small check ins not only reinforce positive habits, but they also help children feel seen, empowered, and respected. And finally, keep your rhythm realistic and flexible. Life is dynamic, things will shift. Some days your child may need extra time to get moving, or unexpected changes might pop up. Instead of thinking of routines as rigid checklists or schedules, we want to view them as scaffolding, strong enough to provide structure, but open enough to respond to what your family needs in the moment. A routine that works isn't one that's perfectly executed every day. It's one that supports everyone's well being. That's the real rhythm that makes family life flow. So, now let's dive into how we can overcome resistance and bring some joy and ease into our daily routines. Let's talk about resistance first, because every parent has been there. Young children often resist routines not because they're being difficult, but because they're seeking a sense of control in their world. Children are wired for independence. When they feel that things are constantly happening to them instead of with them, resistance shows up. One powerful shift we can make is moving from power struggles to collaboration. Before enforcing the next step in a routine, pause to build connection. That small amount of warmth or playfulness goes a long way. So instead of jumping straight to let's go brush teeth or you need to brush your teeth, try starting with a hug or a moment of eye contact, then gently guide your child into the next step. The words we use have huge impact on how routines are received. Shifting our language just slightly can make routines feel inviting instead of demanding. Use positive collaborative phrases instead of you have to clean up now. Let's try let's clean up together, or offer choices within limits. Do you want to brush teeth before or after pajamas? You're still setting the boundary but inviting them into the process. And always validate their emotion. I see you're upset. I'm here. I can help you. It's amazing how quickly resistance softens when children feel seen and supported. Visual charts. This helps children follow routines on their own. You can use drawings, photos, or simple icons, and even better, invite your child to help you make it. Let them choose stickers or colors for each step. This gives them ownership and makes the routine something they're proud of. Timers or music can ease transitions. A stand timer for cleanup or playing their favorite song during morning routines creates structure with a light, playful touch. You might even want to use soft music to keep quiet time or nap time. And of course, an environment designed for the child, where children can easily reach their toothbrush, their pajamas, or shoes. And when your child knows where to find the items, this reduces stress and encourages independence. These tools aren't just about making routines smoother, they're also about making them feel joyful, doable, and developmentally supportive. Now that we've explored how to create and personalize routines, I'll pass it over to Ashley again, who's going to share some great resources.
Thanks, Paula. We'd love to show some resources to you. All of these will be in that follow-up email, so don't feel like you have to hurry and write everything down. We'll share it to you later. One series that we would like to share with you is by Simone Davies, and she has the Montessori baby, the Montessori toddler, and the Montessori child. And this is a great resource because it really fosters independence and it's steeped in child development. Even if your child is not enrolled in a Cadence Montessori school in a different curriculum, it still can be a very valuable resource. There are two different podcasts that we'd recommend. One is called Unruffled by Janet Lansbury, and there's some specific episodes on there on toddler routines and boundaries. And then Good Inside is by Dr. Becky. She has reels on Instagram, she has a podcast, and she also has a book, and she has a lot of great resources too. And then we have several articles that we'll share with you from the sources that are listed on the slide as well. So as we close, remember that routines aren't just about structure, they're about connection, confidence, and supporting your child's growth. We explored how routines give young children a sense of security, reduce power struggles, and build independence. We talked about the key elements: consistency, flexibility, engagement, and a prepared environment, and how to shape a daily rhythm that fits your family's unique flow. We also looked at ways to overcome resistance by using positive language, offering choices, and bringing in helpful tools like visual charts and timers. Even small intentional changes can make a big difference. You're not just creating routines, you're nurturing trust, cooperation, and executive functioning, a lifelong skill that helps your child navigate challenges, make thoughtful choices, and thrive with confidence and independence.
Thanks, Ashley. So, to wrap up our time together, as a next step, I'd love to invite you into simple take-home activity called Observing Your Child's Natural Rhythm. This will be part of the resources that we are sending through the follow-up email, so don't worry about writing this down right now. Keep this as your personal journal, as this will be useful as we go through the whole series, and more importantly, as you establish your routines. And as always, we also encourage collaboration between parents and educators at your school to create supportive environments for children. And now we're going to move on to our Q&A. And we have questions from parents who sent it in advance, but please feel free if you have questions to use the Q&A portion of this Zoom, and then we can send you an email for any questions that you may have. The first is, my husband doesn't always get home at the same time each night, and we like to try and eat dinner together as a family. What's more important for my child's routine? Eating at the same time each night, or eating together as a family, even though it might be later on certain nights? Ashley?
Yeah, I can answer this.
Yeah.
So yes, we understand in the modern family, you have a lot going on in your evenings. You have your work days, you have other children's, baseball games or activities, lots of things going on. So we really suggest that you look at your week as a whole, and just look for patterns in the week. So for example, if your toddler's used to eating at 5:30 p.m., then trying to majorly alter that is not going to go well for anyone. So if you want to hold like two dinners and hold an early one and then a later dinner to be able to meet your goal of having that family unit sit down together, and that can meet everyone's needs. For example, you could feed your toddler at 5:30 and satisfy their hunger cues, and then your toddler can have a snack or something lighter with the whole family at 7 p.m. when everybody's home. So the idea here is to find a balance between having routines that are consistent and predictable, but also meeting your child's needs, of course, and your own goals for your family. So our next question is, my son really has a hard time with transitions. I set timers and tell him when it's going to be time to clean up, but he always gets upset when the timer goes off and it's time to go to school or get ready for a meal. What else should I be doing to work on transitions?
Yeah, I can take that question. It's actually very common. It's a very good question. And you are utilizing some great resources with a timer and reminders. That's really great. You may want to consider doing a drip reminders at 5-minute mark, 2-minute mark, and then 1 minute. Also consider other auditory cues such as song rather than a timer. He might like that better, like some music or even bells would probably it will be fun for your child. Also, please remember that children have different temperaments. There are certain temperaments that will have a hard time with transition regardless of what you do. It's okay. You can make things easier and more smooth, but it's not going away. It's fine. So we just try to be consistent in that, but there are really other temperaments that it's just hard for them when it's transition time. If your child has a hard time managing transitions, keeping routines in this and the same sequencing and pattern is very important. Also, with my own children, when they were little, they couldn't let go of their dinosaurs. So like when it's time for something we have to transition, I would allow them to take one dinosaur with them. And I hear this from Dr. Ashley as well, because her son right now, who's the toddler, loves trains so much. So when she calls him to clean up or go bedtime, it's hard for him to leave the train. So he can take one train with him, and all settles and everything's calm, and we can all go up together, right? So hopefully that helps everybody. And I know there are more questions. We promise to answer that all, and we will send you the email with all the follow-up resources. So thank you so much. We would really greatly appreciate if you can complete our feedback form. The QR code is on the screen, and a follow-up email will include today's recording and additional resources. And our next session is on May 15, and we will explore more about morning and evening routines. So thank you for joining us today. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks.